United Nations women are advocating for equal pay for men and women to bridge the gender pay gap in the East and Southern Africa region by 2030. In its latest report dubbed Why Women Earn Less, the body says that women only earn about 81 cents for every $1 earned by men on an hourly basis in workplaces, representing a gender pay gap of 19%. The gender gap, according to the report, is attributed to factors like age, education, occupation, and job type. Well, now I'm being joined by Dr. Nancy Omolo, gender and climate change expert. Thank you so much, Dr. Nancy, for joining us on the news.
Thank you so much for welcoming me, for inviting me to your studio.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, today the UN report on why women earn less is very interesting in giving us the data. And they say that women, despite their education, their seniority, their experience, still earn less than 19% as compared to men. And when I looked at the report much further, apart from issues of age and education, there's also the issue of marital status, because it states that married women employment rate is 23% lower than the one of the married men, while single women employment rate is 3% lower than that of men. So one of the questions I was asking, why is it that married women, the gap between married women and single women is so wide? So this comes to the issues of gender roles, the gender roles in the family. So women, despite having careers, they're still expected to take care of the children, they're still expected to take care of the sick. At the same time, they're still expected to keep their careers. And the report goes on as well and says that women on the lower cadre of the employment are more likely to leave their employment early as compared to more women in more skilled jobs. And a part of that, it's also going to say that, men earn more because they're more likely to specialize in areas of technology and finance, while most women, the kind of jobs they occupy are in caregiving, education, and maybe at the lower level, and the service sectors, which pay less. But the report, when I look at the report, there's also, apart from all these negative statistics we're having, there's also some positive statistics, which says that in 2021, women labor force was 66%, which is surpassing the global rate of 53%.
All right, now, Dr. Nancy, as a gender advocate, what would you say are some of the most effective strategies that the African countries or the continent at large can implement to address and, of course, reduce the gap between gender pay in workplaces?
I think we have to be very strategic, and one of the areas that need to be focused on is affirmative action. A country like Rwanda, for example, has a representation, the number of women in parliament is 61.25%. A country like Senegal is 46.06%. South Africa is 45.61%. It's 45.61%. So actually in Africa, only Rwanda surpasses 50%. And only 6 countries in Africa have got women representation in parliament, which is over 40%. So countries like Rwanda, for example, have implemented issues of affirmative action. And this has worked with them to a certain extent, but also Rwanda is very unique because of, the history of genocide, and, they were very strategic to ensure that, women were in places. And also when you look at a country like Rwanda, most men were killed during the war. So women took this over. Women took some of these positions. If you look like a country like Kenya, we still have less than 30% of women representation in parliament, despite that we're having affirmative action. And Kenya, for example, in the 2010 constitution, actually, there's the 2/3 gender rules, which require that in every commission or every position, in public position, women have to be represented at a level, they have to have 2/3 gender representation. But this has not been passed in the parliament. This is also because of our social norms and thinking that, women should not have these seats and all this. But there's evidence. For example, if I just give for a country like Kenya, when we have women who've been nominated as members of parliament, they've gone on and actually won the seats, parliamentary seats. And some of them have become senators, some of them have become governors. And also when you look at globally, in a country like India, they say that women-led councils, women leadership in decision making have had positive impacts, because when they look at the women-led council in India, they find that the number of drinking water projects increased more than 62% higher than men-led council. So there's enough evidence to show that women can be leaders, and when women are leaders, they deliver.
All right. I like that you also mentioned other areas. I mean, as you know, aside the gender pay gap, that's not the only sphere where these disparities lie. We're also looking at the lack of access to leadership positions. We're also talking about representation. We're also talking about workplace discrimination. What would you say are the broader implications of these kind of disparities in this intersection?
It really has a lot of negative impact on economies, because in most countries or globally, women make the majority of the population, and by not involving women in leadership positions, by not ensuring that at our workplace we've got equal pay, then that means we're leaving out majority of our population in the workforce and even in leadership. So countries which realize that actually diversity is very important in work, and there's evidence that when you have a diversified employment environment, there's higher productivity. So most of countries in Africa having such kind of statistics, that means that we're really losing out on the potential, a population which could have a very positive impact on the economy.
All right. Thank you so much, Nancy, for joining us on the news at this hour.
Thank you so much. Bye.
It's a pleasure.